For Creamer Media's Polity, Thabi, Madiba, researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss EFF, contributing towards or undermining democratic life. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
You more or less suggest that the economic freedom fighters are fake revolutionaries. Is this fair?
Yes, it's very fair. I mean, you can't, if you call yourself a revolutionary, that doesn't make you a revolutionary. If you wear a T-shirt which has got Fidel Castro there, it doesn't make you a revolutionary. If you shout a slogan, forward to freedom, or down with apartheid, or hamba gashle contra racism, that doesn't make you revolutionary. Revolutionary is someone who acts in a disciplined way along with others in order to achieve freedom. Revolutionary is not about violence. It may entail violence, may not, depending on what is needed. What is needed now is not violence. What is needed now is not violent slogans. What is needed now is not threats to people. In this condition, at the moment, to do all those things is to act in a way that would be called counter-revolutionary against the interests of freedom. Anyone who tries to scare people with threats and things like that is acting in a way that does not contribute to the freedom of South Africa. And for those reasons, in brief, I think these chaps are really infantile. They have got no political experience before the present period. They've got no sense of revolutionary activity. Is slow, it's careful, it's building organization, and that takes time, that takes maturity, and that takes listening, not shouting, listening to the people whom you want to help and learning from them. They don't do that.
Mm-hmm. And you accuse the EFF of being racist, and you repeatedly refer to them calling Minister Pravin Gordhan Jamnadas. Have you made a case for them being racist?
Well, you know, Jamnadas is his middle name. So he would acknowledge that. But what does it mean when you call someone Jamnadas in public? What you are doing there is you're taking an unusual name in South Africa, a name that I'd never heard and many others had never heard. And by its nature, when you do that, people find this strange. So you're trying to create the impression that this is a person who has got a name we've never heard of. He doesn't really belong with us. He's outside. He should go back to where he comes from. He's not one of us. He's not a real South African. It's not simply that they've got a right to call him his name. A lot of people are called names that were not their first name, and there's nothing wrong with it. But the way they're doing it is to try to evoke contempt. That is racism. I've mentioned before they did this with Obama. His middle name is Hussein. Some people called him Hussein. That is one of the ways that racists behave, by exotifying, by othering people. And that's why I think they are racists. And it extends into anti-Indianism in general. There's a sort of, you know, in the course of the struggle, when we referred to people of different population groups, we had to be very careful, because unwittingly we could have said something that made someone feel uncomfortable, that we were insensitive. And these people have got no sensitivity towards the feeling of these people, of other groups, and they actually have implicit threats against them.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, you speak of the EFF being a threat to peace and democracy. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the whole notion of being fighters, and having commands, on the one level is fake, because these people have never been in any real freedom fighting. What they've been in is perhaps brawls or beating up journalists or threatening journalists. Now, being a freedom fighter is a very honorable activity for which a person who enlists with the liberation movement needs to take with seriousness and with a sense of dedication and discipline. Now, what they are doing with violence, with the threat of violence, is that they are deploying it against people who criticize them. They are threatening them as journalists. They're threatening them as women journalists particularly. And what they do with this is that it infringes freedom of speech. You have a sense that I shouldn't say this if I don't want the EFF coming down on me like a ton of bricks. And when they're silent even, like I read something, worse thing you're referring to, and they did nothing, but who knows what they will do. There's a lot of things that get done to you in this country. Your tires are let out at your gate. These guys can be waiting. We don't know. But thuggery is not being a freedom fighter. Beating up a journalist outside Parliament is not the actions of a freedom fighter. These people are bullies, they threaten, they are, a lot of their threats are implicitly racist or misogynist, and women have reason to fear them. So that is my reason for thinking that they are a threat to the peace, but they're a threat to democracy as well, because while they had good reasons for breaking up some parliamentary gatherings during the Zuma period, in the present period, what they're doing is targeting the person who is in the forefront of uncovering corruption. And they are not wanting him to speak, wanting him out of the cabinet, and in so doing, they are undermining democratic practices and the clean-up that is needed to provide a framework for clean government. Those things, in my view, are the actions of a party that is not respectful of democratic values and practices.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Criminal Media's Polity about EFF contributing towards or undermining democratic life.